Hi everyone, this is Lola Ajisafi again. Welcome to my channel. Just to briefly kind of touch on what this channel is about. Pretty much I'd like to discuss and share, topics, relating to love, life and relationships. How can we learn? How can we grow? Really, pretty much that's what's it. I'll also, probably review TV shows relating to that and trending topics that we can probably learn from. So today's video, we're going to be discussing something that's kind of come up. Now, one of the shows I watch is Real Housewives of Atlanta. I don't typically review that because there's just a lot more, nitpicking and than things I can bring out to, talk about. But there is a person on that show that's kind of trending right now, she and her ex-husband, and that would be Latoya Ali. Before she came, she's a friend to the show at this point. She doesn't have a peach, but prior to this time, I hadn't known her. I kind of heard about her on the show. Definitely is kind of open up to a bigger public. But prior to Real Housewives of Atlanta, she's been a, a big celebrity or, someone on YouTube. I believe she has like 1.5 million followers and has been, on YouTube for a good time. So, had been making a decent income, but from what I understand, always had dreams to be on TV. And so, she finally did get the opportunity to be on Real Housewives. So the thing here is from Canada, from what I understand, and they were both vloggers. They kind of met, and began to build on Latoya's channel. I think Latoya had maybe 20, 30, 40,000 more, subscribers at that time. So I think maybe that's why they focused on her channel at the time and began to vlog things. I think, they got into a relationship, she got pregnant, and then that's when the whole thing kind of started. So her kind of vlogging her whole life and not really holding anything back, having no issue with holding anything back. And so that kind of grew and she got a following. So fast forward to now. So, we see Latoya on Real Housewives of Atlanta by herself. At this point, she's kind of selling a narrative that she and her husband are separated, but apparently at that time they're divorced. Anyway, what made me want to talk about it is because I'm now seeing two separate, the either side of part of the couple is kind of talking or trying to release their narrative out there to either override the other or to explain whatever's going on. So, my girl Tasha K, I like her. She's got her journalist hat on, and so she decides to interview Adam Ali. And so, the interview itself was, I want to say it was tasteful. I want to say he was respectful. He didn't completely throw everything out there, and everything he did say, he says you can verify and over-verify. He didn't come across as bitter. He seemed like you can clearly see that. Well, I guess this is my opinion. I see that he's not in love with her, but maybe cares for her as the mother of his children at this point. So a lot of things have transpired to the point where I guess he was done, and so the divorce has gone through, so they are officially divorced. But of course Tasha K felt there was a story there, so she decided to interview him. And so she kind of asked key questions, but he really didn't throw her under the bus. He kind of explained how they met, that when they left from, Canada to LA because that's what she wanted. And then when they were in LA shortly after that, her getting pregnant, the whole thing, he kind of broke it down, but did say, the key things he kind of mentioned. He never made mention of any cheating. He just says that she had the attitude of the energy of, the grass being green on the other side. Now, when I go into Latoya's video, that probably could be him referring to some cheating that, I don't know if it's an episode, one occurrence or another occurrence of cheating that ever occurred that he's making reference to, but respectfully, as the mother of his children, he's not putting it out there. He is, the main thing he kind of talked about was his spiritual journey, and he kind of linked that to around the time, going up to another level around the time that, Kobe passed away or died in the air crash. Kobe to him was, such a great, idol for him, and respected him, and just seeing if that can happen to Kobe, it can happen to everyone. And I guess he was more aware of his mortality and the legacy he wanted to leave behind. So he kind of wanted to, build himself up and be, better and grow. So at this point, he wants to start growing into a man. And when you see his presence, he definitely has a calm air. And he says, there's something he did say that kind of struck me, because the whole point of me wanting to bring this up is to now bring other points of marriage, whether it's a man with a man or a woman with a woman, marriage, you two people coming together and literally trying to understand each other and working through the valleys and the highs, the valleys and the mountaintops, because with every relationship, it exists. So he talks about how for him, he may not be the most he calls himself a lover, but he said he's probably not the most expressive person. But one thing he did know, and that makes sense as a man, was his thing was he would choose commitment and responsibility over love. So, you know, I know some of Latoya's complaints in the past was that he wasn't affectionate, he wasn't this, he wasn't that. But his thing is like, I'm a man. My primary goal is towards, you know, commitment to my family, and my commitment to making sure everything is working out the way it should. So he probably is acknowledging that he may not have been as expressive, may have been guarded, may have been disconnected. But then again, there's some innuendo there. Could this have been after he felt his trust had been betrayed? That's left to interpretation. We're not sure, but he is acknowledging that he may not have been exactly warm and fuzzy. So is that a personality trait of his, or is it after some things may have occurred? But still, in him, you know, saying that, he was still respectful in relaying that story to Tasha K. I like how Tasha K kind of, you know, brought it up. You know, the girl was doing her journalist thing and really just being respectful. She'll ask her questions, but wouldn't push, just to get enough of a story to get the story out as to his story and not her narrative or her version of, you know, Tasha K events. So I did really respect how she kind of sat down and spoke with him. The setting was nice. The gold mics are nice touch, you know, the dim lighting. So it's focused on the two people having a conversation, and it did feel like a good conversation. I kind of went through from beginning to end and was intrigued by the whole thing, because I knew that Latoya was married, as a husband, but like, again, I didn't know them online. I only knew of them through watching the show, so I hadn't really said eyes on them. So this was the first time, and I was impressed with his carriage and the way he kind of spoke. So one thing he also said that I thought was key was he wasn't blaming her as, you know, these, no, she's this or she's that. He was just saying these are the things he observed. And one of the things he said, he just felt like they, you know, they were unequally yoked. So spiritually, they're in different places. I know, you know, Latoya says that she's a Christian from Canada, and I believe Adam's Muslim. So maybe that's what he means by, you know, because definitely we can say when you look at the Bible, people being unequally yoked have different belief systems. So that might be, but when I look at it, not just that, if I'm just looking at two people, maybe they were just ill-matched. Because I'll talk about her video next, but in both videos, they could have been, you know, messy, mean, and nasty. But looking at them, from my opinion, neither was that way with the other. Because she also said some things, you know, I'll give him that, I'll say this about that. So I think, you know, maybe they were just ill-matched. Did she marry because of the child? Or, you know, that kind of thing. Was there was probably affection there. There was probably friendship there, but were they really matched to be in love? And did they have the tools to work through some of the valleys they went through at that time? So it appears, I'm not sure, that maybe they were willing to work on it, but at different times. They were both in different places at different times and never quite met in the middle to jointly work on it to make it work. Because you will see relationships are so varied and complicated that their story is not unique, and people with their story have survived it. But, you know, maybe they were older, other people were older, or they had more of support, family support to encourage them to work on it. We don't know the details, and I don't even think we need the details to understand that yes, they were probably ill-matched, yes, they possibly were unequally yoked according to his words, but I want to say that it was possibly because they didn't have enough support or the maturity or the tools to work through it. Because they definitely have, there seems to be some, you know, general respect for each other, some general affection, some general caring that seems to have occurred. So if I go to you know, Latoya's video, Latoya decided to do her video on her channel, and I think it was pretty much in response to, you know, Adam's video, because we know Tasha K had done this video, you know, maybe a week or so ago, and had been kind of, you know, advertising it and released it to her Patreons first. So I suppose she was trying to address, kind of, you meet the traffic there, trying to address what his video was. But he didn't really say anything unkind or nasty about her, so I don't know if she but she just wanted to put a narrative out there. But funny enough, her video seemed to be more revealing. Her demeanor is really hard to read. She's one who is, you know, has a tendency to be on for the cameras. Lights, camera, action. I don't know. But you know, she was kind of sitting. One of her team in the background was asking questions. But she did kind of lay light. She did admit to, you know, an episode of cheating, whether it involved some intimacy or not. That's neither here nor there. Neither is it really relevant to the point of my story. But she did admit to some cheating. She did also kind of hint as to maybe some physical, something physical that transpired between them when she admitted to cheating. She admitted to buying, I guess, a gun. It's Georgia. You're allowed to have a gun. If you don't have a record or certain things are not in place, you're allowed to have a gun. And maybe he having some fear about it. Points in the relationship where she said she did feel like she was done and had asked for a divorce, and he had kind of pressed on and said, no, let's work on it, let's do this. She did is kind of pushing a narrative of where with the last child, there's some question as to whether it was to try and mend the relationship come from him or her. That's hazy. But the main thing for me now is like, you look at two people. I think they misunderstood each other. There was some immaturity there and a lack of support for either side and for both of them. And so they couldn't make it through. So we know they're officially divorced. But it's like, it's like if we really want to go down to meat of it, what is a marriage? When two people come together to join their lives, what are the expectations? What are their roles? And what should they be doing? Expectations, I think, should be addressed within the couple. And sometimes they even have to be refined and retuned as time goes along, because a lot of time we get disappointed based on our expectations and sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. Are we having realistic expectations of our partner? I'm not saying be a doormat. I'm not saying accept what is unacceptable. I'm saying there's some things we come into, idealistic things we might come into the relationship with expecting or dreaming of, things we've seen on TV, things we've, read in those romance books, the Mills and Bones novels and those old romance novels. Is that the expectation you're coming into the relationship with? So once you're in there, do you need to now adjust it and tweak it a little bit? That's the thing I'm thinking with marriage. And then in terms of roles, gender roles, this is such a big thing now. And I think only the two people in the relationship can properly define what their roles should be. And another thing too is in that same relationship, the roles can change. And so I think relationships that are able to survive are the people who are able to recognize that their roles can change and they embrace that change and move with it. Because as humans, we're dynamic, we're 3D, we're never just fixed right here. It's more like a wave and understanding the peaks and the valleys, like how do we move in that? How do we relate? Because I think everyone at this point knows that relationships, marriages, they're not a walk in the park. But the point of doing that, it can be rewarding if you're finally able to get to a point where you are both playing for the same team. You're batting for each other. You have each other's back. When one is sleeping, the other is moving. When the other one's moving, the other one's resting. It's like, what's when you're doing, the races with the passing the baton on. You're passing the baton from one to the other. You're not competing against each other. You're working together in unison and kind of riding the waves, riding the world. You've got, and I don't like the word ride or die, but you've got your partner who's really riding with you. But you don't want ride or die, because when you do something wrong, you want your partner to turn around and say, hey, no. And lovingly too. That don't do that. That doesn't work. And respectfully with love. Because you want to transfer your message in a way that it will be received. You don't just want to throw it out there. Because I believe that when you say something, you should be able to say most things in a relationship, but it's all in how you say what you're saying, and it will be determine how it will be received. And so that's the thing. So with the relationships, we know it's like the ride and the wave. So you've got the gender roles. You've got, the financial component. Money is a big thing. What are your opinions about money? And if things change, how can you change with what's going on? What are your opinions about how to raise the children, discipline, what we want for these children, the input? Nowadays, we do, it's like, do we have more people? Because, in the past, it's always been the woman being like the primary caregiver, whether she worked or not. The kids would kind of run to her, mom. Yes, you did have some dads doing that, but I feel like nowadays, there's understanding that the dad's role is very important. His role is not just to provide and be the protector. I'm coming back from work. Is everybody safe? And everybody scurries to give him his food. And here you go, sir. Oh, that's fair and fine. You can do that. But how active is he in their lives? How is he playing a role? What kind of conversations is he having with his sons or his daughters? Because whether we like it or not, the role that a man plays in the life of his children, whether male or female, is fundamentally important. You can't play it down, you can't joke around it. It is so key. And that is why I definitely think this is something to talk about. Like it's this more like a discussion between people. So this should just be like a conversation starter. But it's so fundamental. Yes, the woman is there, she gives birth, but the man is important too. And so it's the more I see males participating more in their lives of children, participating, not just being there. Like, yes, I'm the father, I'm the head of household. Do as I say. No, it's not that. It's like an understanding, a conversation, like relating, because you really get what you put in with children. How much are you investing with them in terms of time and teaching? Because they continue to learn in your household, but the lessons they don't learn in your household, when they learn it outside, it's more expensive price. It's a more painful lesson. So if you can teach them as much as you can, then you've helped them out. Now, of course, as parents, can't be perfect, but you have to do your best. So that's the thing when you see in marriages, it's like, so to me it's like, you know, if you see people who've been married together for a while, it's no longer about the sparks and ooh, let's go to bed and da. It's about, yeah, we're partners. This is a goal we're working towards, this is a mission. So you're submitting to one another, sharing a vision and working towards that vision. And you know, sometimes one person's in front, sometimes the other person's in front, but there's always that understanding that this is a team. It's not I, it's we working towards the same thing. And that's what I kind of see as a marriage being, where it's just like, just great friends, great conversation. You can talk about everything, or should be able to talk about everything and exchanging. Now, of course, you have your time out, you have your boys or your girls or whatever it is going on to the other side, but it's always what comes first, the relationship. And it's almost like it's you, your partner, God, like that triangle. And you get, because marriage was created by God, in my personal opinion. So it's like God's right up here and two of you right here. So you're always coming to the source. I do believe man is the head of the household, but it doesn't mean that he's, you know, striking down and looking down on her. Is she doing everything? No, it's like partnership. He's there for her. Because there's a strength a woman has that a man doesn't have. And there's a strength a man has that a woman doesn't have. And so when you bring them together, they should be unbreakable. But it's a journey. You know, and so it's for us to see more examples like that where people are working in unison. And when you do see, honestly, when you see people working in unison, when you see these great relationships, because you see people been married for 30, 40 years who don't really like each other. So they're just enduring each other. But I mean, relationships where they've been through something, they've come out on the other end and it looks amazing. Don't be fooled and think that's how it just got there. No, there was so much work that was put into that. So I just kind of wanted to, their story made me think of what I think marriage is, and the work that's required. Unfortunately for the, you know, Adam and Latoya, they weren't able to do that work to save their relationship. But I hope they're able to do the work to act as co-parents to really make their children feel loved and like they won't be neglected even though their parents are apart. So pretty much this is just a discussion. I'd love, you know, you guys to like, comment, subscribe, of course. And when you're commenting, definitely kind of throw your own opinions in there. And maybe if this is, because marriage, relationship, such a broad topic, you could do a video every week for next year and talk about a different aspect of what could be done. But it's so important. And I just want us to, like I said, my point is less to judge the two parties, but to learn from what we should do that they did and what we shouldn't do. So to go on to that, everyone, I'll just definitely sign out from here. And thank you for watching this video. Lola over and out. Thank you.